As you may recall, landscaping and combustible mulch immediately around your home and under windows, eaves, and vents all provide a potential way for fire to enter the home. And that is because embers can easily ignite the vegetation that is adjacent to the house. So the goal is to create a defendable space to interrupt oncoming flames and to address the potential for ember ignition.
We really talk about defensible space in terms of zones. We have a zone really close to your home. We have a zone that goes from close to your home to a little bit further out, and then further out than that. If your property is only, has a external limit of 25 feet, then these always just go from some foot, like 5 feet, to your property line, or from 30 feet to your property line. But when your neighbor's 20 or 30 feet away, that just means that you and your neighbor have to have a conversation, because you don't want your home to be threatening your neighbor's home, and you don't want your neighbor's home to be threatening you during a wildland fire. But this whole thing about defensible space, as you can see here, the careful selection, careful location, and maintenance of vegetation and other combustibles. Other combustibles can be a wood pile, a lumber pile, your RV, your boat, any number of things that are combustible that many people have. You need to be aware that these other things can also be a threat to your home should they ignite. And so you want to keep these things from igniting, or if they ignite, you don't want them to threaten your home or your neighbor's home for that matter. So we focus a lot on this near your home area. These are, and that near your home area includes the under the footprint of attached decks. We have a couple of pictures of that here. So reducing the combustible materials, whether there be vegetation or other things like a wood pile really close to your home, we really want to avoid those things. So these are two good examples of what we call the near home zone or the non-combustible zone, the 0 to 5 foot zone. Entities, organizations have given different names to this next to your home area. Don't get hung up on the name itself. You'll see it called a number of things these days because there isn't really a globally decided on name for this area next to your home. And the reason why decks are so important and included here is because if they ignite, it's just a pathway directly to your home. And often, I mean, most people that have a deck have a way to get onto that deck from the house. And these are typically weak points. So a door, sliding glass door, and the siding right next to the deck. So you just want to make sure that your deck doesn't result in the destruction of your home. And so storing stuff under your deck, like you see in the lower right-hand picture, it's just really difficult for any deck to survive a burning fire that would occur should that lumberyard there ignite and burn. And this is an example of something that leaves something to be desired. Just because the siding goes all the way to the ground, there's some fine fuels right at the base of the wall that will be easily ignited by embers.
Including that flexible corrugated hose. So there's always going to be this kind of battle against the grasses and other, small plants that are trying to get established under there. So if you have one of these situations, you just need to be a little bit up on your vegetation management. Then, working away from the house, implement a lean and green zone in the 5 to 30 feet zone where the vegetation is healthy, is green, and is moved into islands so that you don't have continuity from areas farther away to the home.
So you want to make sure that should an island of vegetation ignite, it stays right there. It doesn't grow beyond that individual island to other islands. And if it does via ember transfer, that ultimately a burning island of vegetation cannot threaten your home. And
then emanating a little farther out, the 30 to 100 feet zone is to reduce those fuels in general. So that's maybe limbing and pruning trees, creating a few more islands of vegetation, and maintaining grass down to a height no greater than 4 inches.
I think it's also important to remember when we're talking about the 0 to 5 foot zone to consider that vertical zone between the ground and the start of siding. So that's typically considered a 6-inch non-combustible zone, but that needs to be sort of part and parcel with your 0 to 5 foot horizontal non-combustible zone. These are both actions that minimize the ability of ember ignitions to occur really close to your home. Inevitably, I think the fires that most of us remember are the ones where a lot of homes are lost. And when a lot of homes are lost, inevitably it becomes a lot of home-to-home fire spread, as we saw in Coffee Park during the Tubbs fire. When we're talking about neighborhoods, I think it very quickly moves to a community effort so that no individual home is really threatening another home.
And really the idea here is that we're all in it together, right? And your survival is just as much dependent on what you've done as what your neighbors have done. And so, how do we protect our most vulnerable? How do we help those that are less able, either with, their weekend efforts or financially less able or physically have challenges? So what we're talking about is, and if you live in a dense neighborhood, which is wonderful for many reasons, we all have to work on this together. And that's what resilience is going to mean, is the ability for a community to pivot and work on an issue and then sort of solve it collectively.